we've got stocks drifting higher yet again this morning. And I say drifting because we're not seeing much of a boost to the futures. We had a big week in terms of inflation data that we talked about a little bit earlier, but the markets have been kind of meh in response, I think we can say. Mike Stritch is joining us now. He's Chief Investment Officer at BMO Wealth Management. Mike, thanks for being here. What do you make of the sort of relationship now and the reaction in the equity markets to the whole inflation debate? As I said, there was a lot of excitement certainly in anticipation of the data, but we still haven't seen big moves in markets.
Yeah, indeed, and thanks for having me this morning. Pleasure to be here. I would say two things on that front. First, a little bit surprising, the market reaction to the numbers, because they were large numbers, and if you think about it from a quantitative perspective, you would have expected Treasury yields to probably go up a bit on the news. Of course, the reverse happened, and I think we can sum that up on our side by saying 95% of investors over the past several weeks and months have suggested that the next move up in Treasuries was going to be, the next move in Treasuries was going to be up. And of course, when the trades get so one-sided, you have to start to wonder maybe if it was a little overdone in the short run. So I'm not surprised in that regard that we got a bit of a reversal. We had made a call earlier in this year to get to about 175 on the 10-year. We got to that very early. So a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of unwind of that significant move is probably not unexpected at some level. But indeed, from a data perspective, it's a little counterintuitive at present.
And Mike, I think an interesting dynamic right now as well is that we've had, the S&P 500 kind of flat over the last few months, but year to date, we're still up double digits. And it seems that no one is all that interested in the stock market right now. What kind of conversations are you having with clients about, where they think stocks are headed? Folks, are they asking about lightening up here? I mean, what is the state of your client base after, an eventful 18 months?
Yeah, great question. We've got some consolidation for sure that's happened over the past month or two, maybe a little bit of I think you mentioned it earlier, even waiting for earnings to catch up a bit, because valuations from a financial standpoint, ratio standpoint, are quite high. From a client perspective, it's actually quite positive on the stock market. And, we track a lot of sentiment data, both just aggregate data that we collect and analyze, and then I would say anecdotal data just from client conversations. And, starting probably late fall last year, maybe post-election, when we did see a marked move up, clients started to get much more on board with the stock market rally and less concerned with a lot of the sort of overhanging risks, maybe political being the number one thing on people's minds back in 2020 at the end of the year. And so, sentiment actually in our minds has been one of the causes for a little more trepidation going forward, because people have been so apt to embrace the market, and they still do to that degree. We haven't seen a significant pullback from our client base in their belief that the markets are poised for some kind of big reversal. And so we're watching that from a contrarian perspective if it's getting too far afield.
Mike, some of these meme stocks are starting to unwind their gains. They're coming under pressure here. Would a deeper pullback in those hot retail names, would that set the table for a broader market correction this summer?
A good question there too as well. I would probably say no at the margin. Maybe some of the small cap indices that have had significant run up obviously would be impacted, and many folks own these meme stocks without even knowing it through Russell 2000 value and that type of thing. So it's been a surprise to see some people when they look through their holdings and they see they participated significantly in some of these meme stock rallies. I think it goes back to the sentiment. Some of the pieces, whether it's cryptocurrencies, whether it's meme stocks, whether it's IPOs, whether it's SPACs, those types of things. There were some speculative fervor, I would say, that was building in that space. So a little bit of a give back there is something that I would view as a positive actually for the market, and not something that would be a systemic risk for a bigger pullback here in the next few weeks to months.
All right, Mike Stritch, Chief Investment Officer with BMO Wealth Management. Mike, appreciate the time this morning. I know we'll stay in touch.